This episode is proudly brought to you by Lululemon. Lululemon are a brand known for yoga, but as we know, their run gear is technical, highly functional, and built to last run after run through the seasons. Check the collection out at lululemon.com.au.
Your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place?
Welcome to episode number 241 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. Thanks to our legendary Patreon supporters who keep the show alive each and every week to come out weekly and give you guys some content all about running here in Australia and overseas. Welcome to my co-host, Julian Spence, the king of the Surf Coast Track Club down there in Anglesey. How you going?
Oh, mate, I'm a lowly peasant in the Surf Coast Track Club.
Presents, I reckon. You've still got the biggest presents, don't you?
Nah, I just show up, run half the loop, and then go home. That's me.
Still strong presents, I reckon. You got to claim that. How you going down there? Got over your sickness all good?
Yeah, it took a while. Beat me up a bit, but now I feel pretty good again. So I've got a lot of sleep, actually. That's one thing I've noticed. Like, I was getting 9 hours plus a night and waking up deep sleep when my alarm went off at whatever time it was, and just still reckon I could get an extra hour or two out of my sleep. So that was a good sign that I needed it.
That's it. Yeah. My other co-host up in Canberra, long time no see, Bradley. Feels like we just did all this over the weekend. Welcome to this week's episode.
Thanks, Brady. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up on some sleep. Didn't get as much as I normally get over the weekend, but it was good to catch up with you and a few other runners from all around the country down in Launceston.
Yeah, it was good to see you in person. We don't often do it in person, get to see each other, talk every Monday night, but it's good to actually see each other in person with some like-minded runners down there at a pretty successful weekend, you'd have to say, the Launceston Running Festival.
Yeah, certainly some good times. Like, obviously the weather was not perfect, especially early on in the day. But then it did settle down. So, but no, it was. We'll obviously talk a bit more about that later on.
Gee, I wonder who ran first.
I've got some comments about that.
I got the stats here. I got the bomb. I got the official bomb weather.
Mate, I hope you got a lot of stats because there's going to be a few questions coming at you this week. So
it was not it was an interesting week for me.
We'll go to you first then. I did have Moose's Strava pegged up, but you're going first. Talk us through what happened.
Yeah, all right. So Monday, just my standard hour at Mulligan's, 14.5K in an hour. Tuesday, I jumped on the treadmill, did 8K, just under 440s, and then headed out to the track Tuesday night. And the plan was to do 5 800s off a 4-minute cycle and 5 400s with a minute recovery, which was exactly the same session that I did Tuesday before Sydney 10, but it was cold. I think the apparent temperature when we started at 6 o'clock was like -2, so it was probably 4 degrees with 15k an hour wind or whatever. Felt good warming up, and then we started the session, and there was 4 of us in sort of my group, and the 800s. I ran 226 for the first 4 800s, and it did not feel easy. I think largely because of just the weather. I don't know if you guys have ever run in super cold weather where the cold air, it just tightens up your chest. I wasn't getting lactic or anything like that in them, but it just didn't feel that comfortable. I kicked down the last 800 to 221, and that did feel, by that stage, I'd actually started to warm up and felt good. And for some context, before Sydney 10, I think my slowest was 223 for these 800s and my quickest was 218. And then we got into the 400s and I went 69, 67, 68, 68, 66, which is even slightly slower than what I ran before Sydney 10. And got through the session and then changed my shoes, and like my left calf was so sore. Like I started the cool down and every step was like sore, and I'm like, shit, this is not good. Because in December when I hurt my calf, I got through the session, I got through the cool down, and I didn't feel my calf at all. And then I woke up the next day and it was tight. I jogged on it for a couple of days, and then I did a session like 2 days later, and that's when my calf went. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this is not ideal. Tuesday before a Sunday like 10K race. So I was a little bit down when I got home. So I'm like, feel like I'm running pretty well. Feel like I've been pretty sensible with the way I've been training, and have I just fucked everything? So I took Wednesday off completely, just as a precaution, and it was like I didn't feel it too much when I was walking around, but it was definitely really tender to touch, which, for me is not a great sign. Like, obviously there's something going on if it's pretty tender to touch. So took the day off, went to work Thursday, and then I decided I'd just do a treadmill run Thursday afternoon just to test it. Like, it was still sort of touch, but it didn't feel sore when I ran. So I did 50 minutes, 4:37. So that was encouraging that I could run. Like I felt like I knew that now that I could definitely get away with just running, but whether I could run, up on my toes 3-minute Ks, I just wasn't confident, especially knowing that's when my calf sort of cramps or tightens up, is when I'm running close to 3-minute Ks. And it was, obviously the session in December that then flared it up. So by that stage, I'd pretty much made the call that I probably wasn't going to do the 10K. And the question was whether I still go down, just because I know that if I went down and did the 10K and I did blow my calf out and I was basically on the sidelines with Moose at the Gold Coast, I'd be way more pissed off than, going to the Gold. Like, I'm happy to give up a 10K race knowing that I can potentially do something at the Gold Coast. So my other option then was to change to the half marathon and do it as a sort of marathon workout, because I was confident that that sort of 3:20 kilometer pace, it's a different biomechanics for me running 3:20s versus 3-minute Ks. Like, I'm just definitely not up on my toes, and I don't feel like my calves get quite as loaded. So that's basically, at that point, that's when I made the call. So that was Thursday, treadmill. Friday, ran outside. Wasn't sure how far I was going to go. I wanted to do at least an hour. Felt fine after an hour, so I ended up doing 90 minutes. So got rolling a little bit towards the end, 4:05s. Calf felt fine. I just wanted to get through, it's 3 weeks out from the marathon. I wanted it to be still salvage something from the week. And I sometimes like to go into marathon sessions, not completely fresh. So I thought if I do 90 minutes a couple of days before, it won't be completely fresh on Sunday, and I'll hopefully salvage something from the week. Saturday, 13.5K at 4:12s, and then flew down that afternoon. And then Sunday morning for the race, woke up, so set the alarm for 5:50, woke up, and the night before it was forecast to be cold and light winds. And when we woke up, it was 30k an hour winds with gusts of 55. And I was like, well, this is not ideal. It didn't really improve a lot when the race started at 8 o'clock. It was freezing. Like, even coming from Canberra, I did close to a 5k warm up, did a few strides, but then the race was delayed by about 5 minutes. Everyone's sort of just standing around. And when we started, we did this sort of, it's probably a 6k bit where you go out and back, and then you go back sort of past near where you start. And that first 6k was just brutal. Like, that was the point where everybody lost time. Like, no one was going to run ridiculously fast that day, because my second K was 3:24, and which is identical to what I ran the week before around Yerrabee Pond for my second K of that tempo. The difference was I had the brakes on for that tempo, whereas everyone was pushing into the wind. Like, I look at Brett Strava, he was 3:07 for the second K of a half marathon when he was looking to run 2:54s. It was brutal. So didn't feel great actually for the first. So I should say what I planned to do then for the session was basically 5k reps with a 500 float in between. And the idea was to run hopefully around 3:20s for the 5Ks. and just float to field. So I did hit 320s for the first 5K. Didn't feel amazing, and then when we went back past the start, we were meant to have like this massive tailwind for about 8K, but never felt like we were getting a massive tailwind. Like I didn't have a very good rhythm during it, but I think everybody was preparing themselves for the turnaround because we were expecting to basically be running into like a 30k an hour headwind on the way back, which the wind dropped, and it was actually a really nice run on the way home. So anyway, I went like 320s for the first 5k, 318s for the second, and then I actually started to feel really good by this point. 316s for the third 5k, and then for the last 4.7 I was 308s. And yeah, like the last 6k was the best I felt in the whole run, which like I guess is encouraging, going into a marathon, that the longer I ran, the better I felt. And I think largely the wind and probably just not being warmed up properly for that first sort of 5, 6, 7k made everything feel a bit harder. I definitely like kicked down. Like my last couple of k were close to 3-minute Ks because I was sort of going, it'd be nice to just duck under. I'm this close to sort of 70 minutes, so it'd be nice to just duck under 70. So finished the run. Calf held up pretty well. If anything, I noticed a bit of tightness at the start, but once it actually warmed up, it was fine. And then, did a longer cool down just to try and get through a bit of extra mileage. So I did 9.5k afterwards for about like a 35k morning. So I got through 120k with a day off. So not ideal mileage, but I've pulled up okay. Like my legs are a bit sore just from running a pretty solid effort. But my calf I think will be okay. So I was happy with how it went.
Yeah. Thoughts, Moose?
Makes sense not to do the 10 because
thanks, Moose.
it is faster, harder on your calves when you run faster. How's this going to change how you train the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, good point, Moose. So firstly, in terms of the whole, like I was meant to race you, Brady, I thought to myself, I'm in a no-win situation here. It's like if I go down and do the 10K and I blow out my calf, I get on here and you call me a dickhead for why did you race when your calf was tight? And then if I don't do it, I'm a pussy for not racing you. But deep down, like I've made some stupid calls in my running career, and I thought that this was the most sensible approach. But in terms of how I train going forward, like Tuesday was a wake-up call for me that, like, me just being on the track is just risky, like especially in Canberra. Like it doesn't matter what session I'm doing on the track. I just feel like I get up on my toes more. Like even if I'm doing K reps in 305s, like it's just a different mechanics, and it always tightens up my calves. And I'm like, at my age and the stuff that I'm sort of training for, I don't feel like I need to do it. So I need to come up with another way of still maintaining some sort of speed without risking blowing up my calves. And like the hill reps seem good for me. Like my calves don't pull up the same way doing the hill reps as they do on the track. And probably I do need to do more strides. Like I don't do them. And that's probably a way of just developing a bit more strength in the calves and also just helping that sort of biomechanics to run a little bit faster. But in terms of moving forward, like I won't be doing a lot of speed work. And I think also like the way that I'm running at the moment, I almost need to just put the short races to bed. Like it's not where my strength is anymore. Like the fact that I'm feeling better at the 13, 14K mark of a half marathon than I am at the start shows that like I should be focusing on the long stuff now. So in terms of moving this week, I'm going to basically jog probably till Friday. I might do a long run on Wednesday, so like an hour 45, 2 hours max. Then I'll do like a comfortable session on Friday, so maybe something on the treadmill, so either my 6-minute reps or that sort of 30-minute or 33-minute sort of fartlek. And then Sunday, I was going to go relatively long with maybe a little bit at marathon pace at the end if I feel okay, and then I'll have a 2-week taper. But not a lot of intense speed work in that taper.
Yeah, the number one injury for the Masters athlete is calves.
Yeah,
and
it is.
You're training for a marathon, and I'm not sure how important doing speed work is when you get to your age training for a marathon. Like even, yeah, sure, if you can get away with it, put it in, you might get a little benefit. But the risk is so high. Like once you're 40 plus, once you're 35 plus, the way I'm going too, the speed work to me is way riskier when you're only getting a tiny benefit, I think, training for the marathon.
I guess the trick is, though, you don't want to completely discard being able to run somewhat fast, but it's how you can do it in a safe way. And as I said, for me, I think the hill reps are good, maybe some strides, but also doing some of the shorter reps not on the track. Like if I was to do them on a trail or even on a bike path, I don't think my calves get quite as loaded as they do on the track. Like the AIS track is Mondo and it's just super hard. So, but yeah, good question, Moose. And it was definitely Tuesday was definitely a wake up call that like I need to sort of give this real short, like, 66 second 400s the flick.
Yeah. Well, that's
no need really, is it? Like it's 14 dead pace for 5K is 66.
Yeah, and look, my 5K days have really gone. Like, what's it like a 1440 or like, that doesn't. Yeah, I'm better off just focusing on this long stuff. But yeah, I think there's value in doing some strides and keeping up the hill reps are good. Like I do feel really good after I do those in terms of how I move. So I'll keep those up. Yeah.
Good.
Very good. 9th overall. Got the results here. 69.46. And most importantly, the first guy over 40.
Yeah. No, it felt good. Like I was happy with how to run 69.40 in not like, yes, it's a fast course, but not ideal conditions, and knowing that I have to go through 2 minutes slower on the Gold Coast, when even that felt pretty comfortable with 6 minutes worth of sort of floating. I think I'm in an okay spot. The one thing I probably haven't done enough of is 2 hour 30 runs. Like I haven't done one 2 hour 30 run in this whole thing, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how I feel from 35K onwards.
How do you end up with? What was your first 5K? That must have been slow.
1640.
320s.
Yeah.
And he was floating though pretty well for the 2 minutes.
Yeah. So I floated so I was 500 meter floats I set up on my watch. So I was 350s for the first 500, 340s for the next one, and 334s for the last 500 float. So it was more of just back it off a little bit. I
missed that bit.
He smacked the last 4.5K.
I'm trying to work out how you have ended up with 69.40 off the splits you've given me.
Yeah, so my last 10K would have been 32.20, and my last 3K I went 310, 308, 301, and yeah, so I was kicking down the last K. I was just to basically get under 70 minutes, which wasn't needed, but it was nice to do.
Yeah, gotcha. Makes sense now.
And took 2 gels, so I wanted to practice Alphafly.
Alpha.
That your race day shoe?
Yeah, that'd be my race day shoe. And I took a gel at 7K and a gel at 14K because that's pretty much what I'll be doing race day. I'll be taking a gel every 7K up to 28K, and then I'll grab some flat Coke at 30 and 35.
Okay, it's all worked out. 3 weeks yesterday, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah,
you see him cross the line, Brady?
Yeah, I did. Took a few photos.
Oh, yeah.
Hands on his knees. Breathing in pretty deep.
Oh, come on. The guy, I had a chat to a photographer straight
For a bloke who said it was pretty easy, he looked like he was in a world of pain.
Tell you what, Sinead was catching him pretty quick.
Sinead.
No, so
ran in front of Sinead the whole way, 20 seconds in front of her, and she had to solo into that headwind.
So on Sinead, I had a look back after my second 5K. So I was into the float, and she wasn't that far behind me. But at this point, I was still expecting a massive headwind on the way back. So I thought, well, I'll start off my third 5K rep, bank a little bit of time on her, and then when we turn around, if there was a massive headwind, I had planned to actually slow down and just pace her through, because I expected, look, I'll be running 325s at best, into that headwind. So if she can get a sip, but then when we turned around, there was very little wind at all. Actually, the last 5K, I reckon, it had like Lake Biwa vibes, because it's like a real sort of wide road, nice and straight. And that period at Lake Biwa where you, at the 21K turnaround, like from 21K down to probably like 27K, where you just get onto that sort of rhythm and that roll. It had that sort of feel to it, but there was no wind at all. So at that point, I'm like, well, she doesn't need me to pace her. Like, there's no wind there. She can look after herself.
Just give her one back after she touched you up in that workout last year.
Yeah. So she was pretty close to me at 11. So what, that would have been like 10.5K. She wasn't too far behind me at that point.
I'm in a message group, Moose, and we're all calling bullshit on this calf injury. Like, we just reckon he just, like, who changes, like, recovers that quickly from a calf injury?
Yeah,
I reckon
calf
he was
injuries are
dodging me.
4 weekers.
So many people in the race wanted to smash Croaks as well, cooling down with blokes. They're just like, what did he do this for? Why is he pulled out so late?
I'll tell you why I do it, because missing Wednesday and not knowing whether I was going to be right to run on Thursday, I was like pretty down about it, and it made me realise how much I just want to actually be able to go out and run every day. Like, I don't give a shit about being able to race or race you. I just want to be able to run. And if me going down there to race you to keep listeners happy means that I bust my calf and don't run for 2 months, then I'm not going to do that. So, and look, I'm happy to admit I wouldn't have beat you. So you can have the win, but I know that deep down I did the right thing.
Yeah.
Did anybody go through? I didn't really look at it. Maybe just took a quick squiz, and I thought on the competition page that more people picked Brad to beat Brady.
Yeah, even more reason for me not to race then.
Have people been listening to this show? I started taking names,
I
Moose.
thought that
I'm like,
was actually great. I was reading it going, yeah, maybe I've got this all wrong. Maybe Brad is faster than Brady. And then I remembered the head-to-heads.
Yeah.
And then it made sense.
The only way I was going to beat you on the weekend, Brady, would be stick behind you for the first 3K and just clip your heels, annoy the shit out of you, and maybe try and just get in your head. That was
when I started to see those predictions coming in, I'm like, are these people listening to the same podcast that I'm talking on every week? It was really getting to me.
So, question though, Brady, if you were coaching somebody and they pulled up and they did a session on the Tuesday and they were cooling down and their calf, and they had to like limp around because their calf was sore, would you be suggesting they do a 10K on the Sunday?
No way. But I wouldn't be suggesting they do a half marathon instead. And you ran the last 5K at your 10K pace.
But at that point, like,
there were still risks involved, but you would have been over it. Yeah, you were confident in your calf.
And as I said, like there is a different mechanics to run 320s compared to 3-minute Ks for me. Like 3-minute Ks, I'm basically sprinting.
I just don't want to hear about Albert Park 10K in 2019 ever again on this podcast, Brad.
Still happened.
Yeah, it still happened.
What about Gold Coast Half 2016?
Yeah, exactly. A different Brady you're racing then, Brad. Different Brady. You had the opportunity
Sydney
to go up against a new one. You turned it down, okay?
Or Marathon TV.
Give me something for the last 2 years.
Go on, Brady. Why don't you tell us about your week?
My week. Happy if I go next, Moose?
Oh, I'll allow it. You had a good week.
Wait till the end. I did 60 minutes on Monday, 4:18s. Like, just looking at the stopwatch, just off the shorter long run. So I was quite surprised to see 4:18s for me on a Monday. That's a big surprise that I was like fresh, but I was a bit concerned I was a bit too fresh too early in the week. You know, sometimes how you want to feel like junk until like the day before the race. I was like, maybe I've just tapered a bit too early here. I did an easy jog, drills and strides in the afternoon on Monday after school. Tuesday was my workout for the week. I did 15 minutes at, I think it was about 3:12 pace. And then I jogged for 2 minutes, and then I did 4 2-minute efforts around about like 3-minute K pace, 2:59, 2:56, 3 minutes and 3 minutes. And that was good, just to do a bit of a combo workout, like a bit of threshold and then a bit of faster stuff at the end there. And I felt like the workout was over before I got too tired. And then an easy, so I still tried to jog as many times as I usually do, but just started cutting warm-ups, cutting cool-downs. Instead of doing 30 minutes in the afternoon, I was doing 25 minutes. That was 22 minutes actually that afternoon. Just to try and cut some mileage going into the race. I did an hour and 6 minutes on the Wednesday, and then 25 minutes in the afternoon. Thursday I did 60 minutes and 6 by a minute on off. I probably did that after about 10k. We're still sorting this fun run course, and I've had to run it one more time. I'm kind of sick of running this course now, but I ran that course and then changed into the Alpha Fires that I was going to race in. I don't wear them very often, so I put those on just for those ones and felt good doing those minute efforts. They were kind of at probably 2:55 pace, I think. Easy 26 minutes in the afternoon that day. Friday was an easy 30 minutes. And then in the afternoon, Nate Stoke came over here because he was coming to the airport with me, so I jogged with him for 45 minutes. Pre-race on the Saturday, I just did half an hour, and I think I did 5 20-second strides at the end of that run. And then, made the trip to Melbourne, got on the plane, landed in Launceston. They do a pretty good job of getting you to the airport or getting you from the airport to the hotel and looking after you pretty well down there. And then, the race was the next day. I was really confident. I took a lot of confidence from my recent cross-country races. I'm not known for being a great cross-country runner, and I like getting on the roads. I'm usually better, so I know that I've been having some decent cross-country results. I was kind of really excited to get on the roads, and I really thought it was going to be a good opportunity to have a crack at my personal best. My kind of minimum goal was to try to beat my road PB, which was 29:48, and then my second goal was to try to dip under my track 10k PB, which is 29:34. The race worked perfectly for me. There was a huge pack. We had a headwind out. We were expecting tailwind out, headwind back, but headwind out. I stuffed my watch up again. I did it in this race last year. You know, when you click it and then it's like, are you sure you want to use it without heart rate? And then you've got to click it again.
Yeah.
So this year I was so paranoid I was going to make the mistake that I accidentally hit it 3 times. So then when I looked down about 100 metres in, it said resume, and I'm like, oh no. So I got, and it felt like I was sprinting early as well. So I had no indication of what the first K was, but when I got to the K marker, I just split my watch. So then I could kind of just keep an eye on the pace, just having a look at the K markers from there. So we stayed as a huge group. Not sure if you watched the stream, Moose, but there's probably 20 people in the lead pack, all the big names. So I just kind of sat in and just kind of put myself in the middle of the pack. I kind of rewatched it today, and I don't think you can even see me for the first 5 or 6k. I put myself in the middle, which is good because then you got nowhere to go. You're not going to drop off because there's people behind you, and you can't go any forward because there's people in front of you, people around you. And it just felt so smooth. We ran the first K, I think, in around 2:52. Liam Adams did some pacing after the half marathon. And then it settled at 2:59, 3-minute K pace. I think a lot of guys were just thinking they were going to pick it up on the way back, which was perfect for me. We got to the turnaround at 14:52, and then they started to increase the pace, which they did similar last year. And I remember I went with the pace last year for that 6k after the turnaround and then popped. Whereas this year I was just a bit conservative and just wanted to stay closer to the back of the pack and not get caught up in anything super quick. I just kind of just relaxed at the back, and then just really sat in a nice pack with Liam Bowden, Aidan Hobbs, Will Garbletto, I think it is. Should get that right. The young kid, 18-year-old. And we kind of got dropped by the big boys out the front, but we just still kept things honest. We were rolling 2:53, 2:54 pace. And I just kept cutting deals with my brain. I'm just stay here for another 2 or 3 minutes, stay here to the 7k mark, stay here to the 8k mark. And it felt hard, but not like I was popping hard. And then I remember getting to 8k and being okay, I've just got to stay here in this pack until 9k and then try to win it. And just at about 8.5, Liam Bowden made a bit of a big move, and I couldn't cover that. Aidan Hobbs did a good job to cover it, and then Will and I kind of stayed together with a tiny kind of little group there, which was good. And then at 9, Nick Earl was on the side of the road, and he just kind of yelled out try to run 2:50 for the last k if you can. So I just tried to drop Will. I think he's a low 8-minute 3k guy. I didn't want to be with him with 400 or 500 metres to go. So I kicked away from him and had Aidan in my sights, and probably got Aidan with 400, 500 to go, and he kind of stayed next to me. And then, crossed the line in 29:25, which was a nice little PB. And because my watch wasn't working, I had no idea I actually thought we were close to, because I knew it was pretty slow through 5K, and I didn't think we'd picked it up that much. So I was like thinking you've got to get under that 29:48, got to get under that 29:48, like keep grinding, keep picking up like as much as you can the last couple of K. So a nice pleasant surprise when I crossed the line and saw the clock at 29:25, and yeah, over the moon. Like I always just wanted to break 30. Like I would have died a happy man being a 29:59 guy. And I just think 29:25 is kind of a different league than the guys trying to break 30. And I'm glad I kind of made that jump, and yeah, stoked to have a time like that next to my name, because never in my wildest dreams would have I thought that I'd run 29:25. So yeah, I think there's a few little adjustments I've made in training to work in, and the cross-country strength going to the roads definitely helps massively. I think I was 8th. I was 8th across the line. So I think I was seeded 14th. So good to stag a couple of spots there.
Kind of like the perfect race for you.
It was. I had to sit until about 9.1k, so I didn't have to do any work because it was slow early. I picked up, but I kind of backed off a bit that it wasn't going to pick up too much for it to cook me. Yeah, and you just got to make those, or take those opportunities when they come, because there's not many races where you get handed it to you perfectly on a platter like that.
Yeah.
So, and I've been down there before and had shockers, and I'll probably go down there again and have shockers. But yeah, it was good to, everything just worked in my favour, and I just knew early in the week, I'm like, I feel great, like these paces feel good, training's been going well. I've got to make the most of this opportunity and try to rewrite the PB.
Well done.
So no complaints there. And I think you picked it a couple of weeks ago, didn't you, Moose? Didn't you say 29:15?
I said low 29, I reckon.
I said even lower.
And I think you could get, I still think you could run that. Well, I mean, on a track you might be able to.
Probably not. I couldn't have done that yesterday because we'd probably lost too much time at the start. Like I was 14:52, 14:33.
Yeah, so 2, 3, 4, 5 is all too slow.
Yeah. But so I think I got the best out. I'm surprised I actually closed in 14:33. Like I haven't ran many 5Ks that much quicker than that.
No.
So yeah, it was good signs, and we did have a nice tailwind coming home. Not as generous as the half marathon tailwind, I don't think, but it was still something decent at our backs.
According to the bomb, Brady, it was a south-southwester at 10:30 of 11k an hour, but then by 11 it was a northeaster, which means you would have had a tailwind on the way up and a tailwind on the way back. No, but the wind had dropped, but it was a great run. Like regardless, it was a great run.
Thank you. Yeah, stoked with it. So yeah, good to rewrite a PB, because I think, the older you get, the more you appreciate just being, you're better than you ever have been before. Like it's a cool little feeling, and especially when I've been in the sport for so long, it's good to be like, okay, I'm peaking, which is didn't think, I'm 35 soon and 2 kids and working and stuff. I didn't think I'd be still maybe some of the better running in front of me. But I think you were pretty late, weren't you, Brad? You ran some of your PBs late.
Yeah, every PB other than my 8 and 15. So my 3K is I was 35 when I ran my 3K PB.
Yeah. Okay, still got plenty of years ahead of me. So that was that. I think my weekly mileage was 130, 128, something like that. So a bit of a down week, but this was really an A race for me. And then I'll kind of hopefully recover, string a few weeks together, and then hopefully nail a quick half at the Gold Coast. Like all off the back of that, I should be able to smack my PB up pretty well if everything goes to plan.
63 minutes maybe.
Mate, I haven't even broken 66, so I'd have to jump like 65s to 64s and then into the 63s if that's the case.
Yeah, you should be able to go into the 64s.
Yeah, I think so. What's that, like 30-50 through 10k for 64? I think.
Probably 30. So that's 61, and then you've got 3 minutes. 30. Yeah. So 3:30. 30:30 to 30:40. I reckon through 10. Yep.
Slow your 10k down a minute. Should feel comfortable. I think out there it depends on where the groups are. Like I got a perfect one today, but there could be a group going 62 and then nothing for 65. So and I do like being in a race situation. But anyway, that was my week. Bruce, tell us about yours. You back?
Not quite as exciting as you blokes. I did 35k. I'm actually looking. I'm accumulating there. Like I did 35.39k, which was significant because it means that I was like nearly 2K more than nearly 3K more than the week before. Monday I was sick. Tuesday night after work, I ran with Jimmy from the store. So we ran down the waterfront. Next morning, got out for a jog, just 30 minutes, but not feeling great, to be honest. Sore back, sore glute sort of stuff. Real tight and junky. And then I had a couple of days off. So I was supposed to run Friday, but Friday morning didn't happen. I had work on like super early, did some testing, and then worked all day and was going to run after work when I got home, but honestly was never going to happen. And so Saturday morning got up, ran 45 minutes. That's what I was aiming at, and got some hills in. Started to feel a little better. Sunday morning ran with a group actually. So went out to the Longy. Everyone had sort of a version of their own long run out there with workouts. A lot of people getting ready for Gold Coast, and a lot of the guys that aren't doing the marathon at Gold Coast are jumping in and helping with the marathoners for their workouts, just to kind of chip in for the group. So that was cool. But I just did 12K. 4:28's a little early, a little quick for me. It felt good to be with a group again, but that get a bit carried away when you consider the morning before was 4:55s, Tuesday was 4:55s, Monday was 4:42s, and that was with someone. So like my cruising altitude at the moment's probably around, I'm going to say that I run at about 4:50s. That kind of pace is comfortable. So the fitness is pretty low. I haven't ridden for a while because of my back, and the weather's so shit here. Bike riding sucks when it's so wet. So that fitness is kind of disappearing, the slight bit of fitness I built up from that. But yeah, Crude and Farm next week, 12K.
Are you gonna do it, Moose?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
But not as hard as you did the other one?
I don't know.
Are you in the Premier team, do you think?
Well, that's it. I won't need to be. I don't know. Because it'll be the same as last time. We're going to have more than 6 people, I reckon, this time. So I don't have to. But
just be careful though, Moose. Like, I know you want to be part of the team and everything, but like, I'm sure you're like me, where you actually enjoy just like being able to run pain free and just enjoy going for a run. And if you're in this constant cycle of, do one of these AV races and then type back and sort of busted until the next AV race, it's like you're not really progressing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's causing all the tightness and shit, because I've had that for a while. And I think it might be the bike. I've changed a few things at home. Like, I've just sitting at the table feeding Pia, like twisting sideways instead of turning my chair to face her was dumb.
I love this. Welcome to dad life, Moose. Hey,
proper dad stuff.
Now you know what we've been battling for the last couple of years.
Yeah, but you're both like 40 kilos and don't have any dramas.
I reckon I'm getting like more upper body strength. I reckon I'm getting more jacked.
Are you sure you could get any more jacked than you are?
So my body's improved since both kids can walk now. That's a game changer.
That sounds pretty good.
But no, just like, I guess if you were coaching somebody and they were doing this, what would you say to them?
Yeah, well,
12K cross country is hard. That's like a 15K road race.
I don't coach anyone who runs 30K a week, so I wouldn't really know what to do. It just seems foreign to me.
Well, maybe you should be on a run walk program then.
I did that already. I just got through all that. That was pretty good.
You might have to dust the spikes off too, because it's going to rain Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Melbourne. It's going to be a muddy course.
Yeah. I've got to do a bit of a tempo run at some point, so it'll be a tempo run. We'll see how we go. I might do it. I heard that it's actually a lot. It's difficult late, so you need to save a lot to the end.
It's just a 4K loop though. It's the same. You do it 3 times.
Don't you finish differently though? Don't you finish a different K or something? Someone on the long.
Oh yeah, like the last 400 meters to run towards the finish line. Yeah, that's bad.
It's only 400 though.
But your race is over by then, yeah.
I haven't even looked at the course or done it before, so I was just going off what someone told me.
Yeah, the peel off to the finish is sketchy, but the race is decided by then, I'd say.
Maybe I just jog it, and then the third lap I kick it down a bit if I'm...
Me and you, I just think I might threshold it, so me and you might just threshold it together.
You reckon your threshold's the same as my threshold?
It depends how we're going for people. I might just be able to chill out the back with you.
I know I'm 7 minutes faster over the marathon, but that doesn't mean we've got the same threshold at the moment.
Yeah, all this stuff's going to come back to me now that I'm going all right. Just be brought back down to earth. It's good that you're rolling at least. It's good that you're rolling.
It's good to be out. You know what? I just miss testing running shoes. I got all these running shoes sitting there. I'm like, fuck, I don't even know how they feel. Like, it's just good to put on different shoes and feel it again, and just being able to talk to customers. Like today, I served however many customers. Just being able to talk to them about running and actually, I guess, feel a little more connected.
Yeah, what's so important in your industry, isn't it?
Yeah, and I need to be able to kind of chat to them about the shoes they're wearing, relate my experience with the shoe, and know what they're talking about, and then chat to them about where they run, what events, and just have some level of enthusiasm for running, which when you're injured, you lose very quickly.
All right, let's move on, hey? We'll go Patreon shout-out, then we might try put a call into Adelaide, Jessica Stenson, when we're talking about the Launceston results.
Yeah,
want to kick us off, Croaks? Who are you thinking?
I got Lincoln Walcombe this week. Lincoln lives in Ascot Vale, Victoria. He's currently building up for the Melbourne Marathon. So that's 16 weeks yesterday. So it's a good amount of time he's got there to prepare for that one. He ran 3:43 at Great Ocean Road last year. He's a dad of two, and he's got the boy-girl combo like us, Brady. So good work. 88 minutes for the half marathon he's run. 38:07 for 10, and he might have the nickname Bruce. So if that's the case, thanks for your support, Bruce.
Yeah, I just saw his Strava today. He's kicked off that training program for Melbourne. I was surprised it was 16 weeks away. It's going to come around quick, 16 weeks. Yeah, it's a long marathon program, though, 16 weeks.
Yeah, I guess, I reckon 16 to 12 or 16 to 10 is even that sort of just prep phase, and then get a bit more specific.
Get going. Who are you thinking, Moose?
I've got Jed Timms. So Jed is a big fella, tall man. Has big feet too, size 14s. He's from Cobble Creek, Queensland. 2:57 he ran at Gold Coast Marathon. 12:36 estimated best for 5K. 26:29 estimated for 10K. So Jed, it's got to step up that marathon time, mate, according to those PBs. He's a daddy. He's also high flyer, lawyer, friends with Krishna Stanton, actually, training buddies maybe. And yeah, he's actually part of, or he's done work with the Love Mercy Foundation. So the Love Mercy Foundation is the one that Eloise Wellings is involved in. They will go to Uganda and do charity work over there. And I know Jed went over there at one point and did charity workings with Love Mercy. So thanks, Jed.
Interesting that Brad and I were at the airport yesterday talking to Eloise Wellings about Krishna Stanton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like 24 hours ago. And now those two names have come up again.
Yeah.
With Jed, Jed's the thread now, isn't he? He wasn't there yesterday, but now he's brought them both together again.
There you go.
Small world.
Jed. I reckon I met him up the Gold Coast one year too, Jed, in person. Had a chat with him.
Yeah, he's a tall fella.
Man. Good man.
You recognise him.
Yep. I'm going to thank Ty Farrier from England, United Kingdom. Primary club that he runs with is the Hunts AC. He is a brand ambassador for the Subline Racing, not sure what that is, and a BMAF marathon champ in 2021. Going by his description on Strava, he's trying to avoid old age by plodding along as fast as he can. Did have a photo of himself in one of those England vests as well. You know, they get those for like different races over there.
Yeah.
Bit easier to get an England vest than an Australian vest, isn't it?
I don't know. Well,
yeah, there's some ways to get them in Australia too.
Oh, Europeans. They've got Europeans. Going to
but
the
sometimes they just go to like the Frankfurt Marathon and get to wear them.
Why?
You know, like Aaron Scott, he wore one once at the Frankfurt Marathon. Like they send like development teams and stuff.
You call him Aaron?
That's how it's pronounced, mate. I interviewed him.
No,
Pulled me up on it in the first 20 seconds.
His name's Aaron.
Anyway, back to time. 16:27, 33:28, 72 for the half, and 2:35 for Chester Marathon 2019.
Okay.
So I don't know what that BMAF Marathon Champ 2021 is.
So you're telling me
British Masters Athletics.
Oh, that'd be it, wouldn't it? British Masters Athletics
Federation.
Championships. Yeah. So maybe that's where he was wearing the England
there you
vest.
Go. Okay, there you go. That's making sense.
What were you going to say? He's got a vest off those PBs.
Nah, I mean, like, back in the day, he might have been some sort of phenomenal athlete, and that was pre-Strava, and you're just going off Strava.
True. Yeah, I did. I just looked up his Strava, but I reckon he had him saved in the PB part of Strava. You know that bit where you can list your PBs? These weren't estimated best for Ty.
Okay, well, don't know about that. Maybe.
Yeah, he won the men's 45 section there. He ran 2:40.49. One easy, won by 9 minutes. So thanks to all those legends at Patreon for their support of the Inside Running podcast. Keeps us alive every week. As I said at the start of the show, 3 different levels where you can support us there. Heaps of bonus content at one of the levels, early release at another level. And get a shout out, keep the show alive, all those kind of things. We really do appreciate it. Makes us show up each and every week at Monday, 7 p.m. to get this show recorded, talk about running. We might go Launceston results first, boys, while I get Jessica Stenson organised. How's that sound? Moose, do you want to run us through the results? You watched it? Did you sit back Sunday morning?
No, I was out for my run. As soon as I got back to the car, I put the stream on, and I saw that the gents were at 18k and Sinead was at 16k. When I tuned in, but then I did watch the 10Kers at home. So by the time I started watching, Brett had a lead of about, I'm going to say it was about 20 seconds at that point, over Brett Robinson, over Liam Adams, and he ended up going on to win in 1:01.56, which was just off his course record. Liam ran 1:02.12 for a big PB, and probably like a long time coming PB. And Joel Tobin-White actually Inside Running podcast's own Joel Tobin-White, ran 62.46. So that's pretty good from Joel. He's obviously pretty fit at the moment and not far off his, what did he run, 62 low for that phenomenal half that he ran in Japan. So pretty solid times there down in Lonnie. They're very quick, especially for Australia. You don't see a race with results like that outside the Gold Coast very often.
Yeah, and it's an interesting course in that what I think makes it so fast is just long, straight sections of road where, like, Gold Coast is flat, but Gold Coast you have quite a few turns to it where you basically have, 15k of the half marathon, you're pretty much just running straight, which I reckon you can get into a really good rhythm with ideal weather. Like Brett said that he thought he could run a minute quicker in like perfect conditions, and because he spoke the night before at the dinner saying that he was going to go and try and run under 61, but I think that first 5k was where the time was lost. Outside of that, they'll run pretty quick.
What about that? Was there a hill at about like 19k?
Not 19, no. So there's a couple of little rises in the first 6k. You go up over this bridge, and then you got to do a U-turn and you come back. And then there's probably a 200-metre hill at the turnaround, which is down around 15k, 16k. Yeah.
So there's nothing late because the footage is deceptive then.
Yeah, it is a bit deceptive.
Downhill. I know the hill you're talking about. It looks like it's way bigger and more downhill on the way back than it actually is.
Yeah, because they were still flying along at that point, and I'm like, they're going uphill pretty strong here.
Yeah, I think because they videotape it like very low in the back of a car, like it's a station wagon with its back opened, and I reckon the camera's super low, and it just might be the perception.
But they were the men anyway. Sorry.
And Jacob Cox was in fourth. He ran 63.54, which was a bit of a massive breakthrough for him. I don't think he's been under 65.30 before and dipped into the 63s. I think the most impressive thing about all these four guys was they almost time trialled it, because when Brett made the move, they were just strung out, 15, 20 seconds down the road from each other. And they had to kind of work individually from a long way out. It wasn't like they were sitting in packs for a long period of time. So, mentally tough to kind of hold their positions for that long in the race.
Fun fact about Jacob Cox.
I've got one for you as well, actually.
Yeah.
What's yours?
His brother goes out with Izzy Bat-Doyle.
Do you think they're the most successful brothers in Australian running history?
Oh, geez, I don't know. It depends how you rate that, because you could take Robert
62
Deek
and 63.
Yeah, no, but like, what's the? Because you take Deke, right? Robert Deke.
Yeah, what does brother run?
Don't know, but it's gonna like. Are you looking for the average?
Yeah.
Is that how it's gonna work?
Yeah, no, I don't know how you judge it. You can't have like a 208 guy and then a 215 guy, I suppose.
Why
that would
not?
be still impressive, yeah.
You could have a 208 guy and a 230 guy, and it's still
and those
impressive.
two guys, their marathons are letting them down, the Cox brothers at the moment.
Yeah.
But over half, a 62 and a 63.
Yeah. That was, and Riley ran well too.
Tell us about the women's race, Moose.
Yeah, Sinead Diver. She went down there, probably eager to take the course record, and she ran 71.04. Now that did take the course record. So she had a pretty good result. Probably not her fastest time, but looked like Croaks, although he did offer, and the plan was for him to pace her, dumped her within 1 kilometre of the start line. And so she pretty much looked like she ran most of the way herself.
If only she had a pacemaker, she would have ran way quicker.
I ran 3:20 and then 3:24 for my first 2 kilometres. So to be fair, the night before, Sinead was hoping to run like 60, like under 69. Like that was her goal if the weather was good. But I think she had been a little bit sick. But then seeing her on the start line, or 5 minutes before, when it was blowing an absolute gale, I said to her, I guess you're not looking to run under 69 minutes today. And she's like, nah. She looked so cold on the start line, and I think at that point, like there was probably a bit of negativity on the start line, and then it was more about just getting the win, I think.
Yep.
Yeah,
well,
she did.
Yeah.
And she did say the night before that she'd been sick a bit, like a couple of weeks ago, had the flu for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Abigail Nordberg was second. She ran 71.50, which is very solid time. I just tried to look up her results, actually, like her past PBs and stuff. Has done a lot of 1500s. That's probably where her strength has been in the past. If I go to her personal best, you can look. She's run 16:18, so pretty solid. 33:45 Zatopek a couple of 2019, but really she's dropped from May. From a month ago, she ran 1:15 at Sydney, and now she's run 71.50. So, one to watch, I reckon, fellas. Vanessa Wilson was third, 76.34.
Out of run crew, I reckon. Did you sit next to her on the bus on the way to the airport, Croaks? Was that
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I think she's obviously moved up now in distance. And I asked her what's next, but she's heading overseas. I think her husband's family are from Finland. So she's heading over there for 2 months, like as of now. So she's not going to be around for Gold Coast. But I think she's sort of done with the track, and I think she's moving up to the half and the marathon now.
She's going well. Good signs.
We'll go women's 10K next, Moose, because I think Jess is here, but you want to quickly read the results out first and hear about the race?
Women's 10K. Jess Stenson, she won 31.49, beat Leanne. Pompeani, 32.08. Eloise Wellings was in third, 32.47. Course record for Jess, which was big. Her big PB for Jess as well on the roads and, in general, 10K. Are we going to ask her about the race then?
Yeah.
Welcome, Jess. Congratulations on the course record. Welcome back to the Inside Running podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Did you think you were going to go that quick, Jess? What were you thinking the days leading into it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So my overall 10K PB was from the Peyton Jordan Stanford 10K in 2015. And I've sort of been looking at that time, and I feel like my training has progressed so much since then, but I just haven't sort of had it all come together at the right time to produce a result to show for it. So when I spoke to my coach, Adam, on Saturday afternoon, he said, what are your goals for the race? And I said, to run a PB. Like, I think I'm capable of that. In my head, I was sort of thinking road PB, which I think I had to run faster than 32:40 to get a road PB. But I was hoping I'd be able to maybe sneak, low 32, sub 32. And I said also, to try and get the win. And he said to me, look, given where you're at and what your sort of longer term goals are, I think I just really want you to get out there and challenge yourself tomorrow. Just keep reminding yourself of that when you're in the race. And he said, I think it's going to take a sub 32 to win it. And when he said that, it sort of excited me more than intimidated me. So I guess that showed that mentally I was ready to run a time like that. I just had to hope that I was physically as well.
Jess, when Leanne took off, because at one point there it looked like Leanne may have sort of almost sealed the deal. What were you thinking there? Were you still did that sort of come into your head as well, or you still felt really good and you thought you'd pick her up towards the end?
Yeah, at that stage of the race, I was really running my own race, and I one of my goals was to run a PB, and I hadn't been checking the split since the first K split, which was 3:07, which was a bit faster than I'd sort of planned. So I decided after that not to look at my watch anymore, but I felt like I was certainly onto a PB. So I was just trying to keep my effort steady to make sure I could secure that PB. And it was at about the 7K mark I sort of realised that I was getting closer to Leanne, and next minute wasn't too far behind her. And I thought, well, if I'm going to pass her, I need to sort of do it fairly decisively. And once I passed her, I did at one point hear some breathing behind me again, and I didn't know if it was Leanne or one of the guys, but I didn't want to look behind. I just had to keep focusing on the road ahead. And Liam Adams had gone into the 10K to pace the men, I think, and pretty early on realised, I think he said they were clipping his heels, so he dropped back to the next pack. And I didn't really know what his goal was for the 10K, whether he was using it as a session, as a bit of a tempo, but he was out ahead, and so it was nice sort of having someone to try and chase up the road as well. He pulled out at about 9K, and I sort of surprised myself because the first half was pretty challenging, and then in the second half I kind of came good, and I think just got excited because I was feeling good.
Yeah, well, I looked at your last 5K, Jess, you just splits on Strava, and then worked out that would have been a 5K PB for you as well, coming home. I think it was like 15:44 for the last 5K. So come home full of running.
Yeah, it's funny, on Tuesday's session I had 2x2K and 2x1K, and Adam came out for sort of the second half of the session on the bike, but I was just running to feel, and the 2Ks I sort of was around the 2:17 mark, which was a bit faster than I was expecting. And then the 1Ks which came out, did I say 2:17? 3:17. Yeah, 2:17 would have been pretty handy. 3:17s, and then the 1Ks came out at about 3:08, and I really felt like that was an effort that I could sustain. So it's funny that sort of ended up being that final 5K was kind of around that mark.
It must give you so much confidence. We're not sure which marathon yet, but one marathon in a couple of weeks, maybe 4 weeks or 6 or 8 weeks, with the World Champs and Commonwealth Games teams still yet to be announced.
Yeah, well, the Gold Coast Half will be the next race in 3 weeks' time. So I'm looking forward to that. I haven't... I have run a half recently. It was at Melbourne last year, and I had a toughie that day. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting in and running a more consistent race this time.
And have you had indications or have you changed anything in training? You're still doing as much cross training as you were before Perth, or can you put anything down to this massive jump in PB?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. In the last couple of years, I've had I've been able to hit my sessions with more intensity, and it's whether it's that and a couple of other things, maybe burning more energy as a mum. I dropped my strength training after having Billy, I think just didn't have quite as much time, and I was prioritising my running training, and I sort of looked at, the whole picture and tried to identify why I've been more injury prone in the past 12 months, because that femoral stress fracture at the beginning of this year really knocked me. I was pretty deflated when I got that because I was so excited to run a marathon earlier this year. So the main things I've changed have been adding into, strength and conditioning sessions in the gym per week. And I've really made a conscious effort to be diligent with my fueling. So I think, in January, it's a period where you're travelling a bit for the Christmas, New Year break, and I probably wasn't getting quality protein in within sort of that half an hour of finishing a session. So I've been really strict with that. And then I think just now that I've started coaching others, I've really had to think about the purpose of each run, and I'm applying that to my own training more. And just, I think there was sort of a point earlier this year where they were all becoming a bit similar, my sessions and my jogs. There wasn't a big differential. So I've been really trying to make sure my recovery runs are just, I think of it as a leg massage. I'm just trying to get blood flow to the legs. I don't get, nervous about those runs. I see them as a really relaxing opportunity to just get out there and listen to a good podcast and actively slow myself down. And I think that's meant that my sessions have improved as well. So a combination of all of those things, I think.
So much gold in that last bit there, Crogs, slowing down your recovery days.
Yeah, well, mate, look, if I can run a minute 10K PB, then Brady, you're in trouble again.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I reckon I'm still a minute ahead of you, so we might be about spot on now.
Hey, Jess, just looking at your Strava, do you put all of your runs on Strava?
No, I don't. No, I'm not good at uploading every run. I generally put my Tuesday and my Friday session, maybe my Sunday long run. So I think the last week was about 120 Ks, and the 2 weeks before that would have been around 160. So that's getting up to be honest, I don't see my mileage getting much higher than that for this marathon. I think because it'll be marathon number 14, I can perhaps get away with less running than I used to do, I guess, to protect my body. And when you asked before, Brady, about cross training, so my sports doctor actually identified that as maybe being one of my issues as well. I'd relied on cross training a lot for that Perth marathon, and so then coming into the next block, I just suddenly got back into more running without the cross training, and I hadn't probably built up that conditioning to handle that running load, because going into Perth I'd utilised a lot of cross training and had the aerobic fitness there, but perhaps not the muscle and general musculoskeletal conditioning to handle a high running volume again.
It's really easy to sit back and pick someone's training apart, Jess, which we get to do when you were on that podcast, the long and short of it. But I remember at the time I was thinking, Jess has this formula now where she can run a PB doing this amount of running and this amount of cross training. And I felt like I was watching you slowly move away from the formula.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can get why. Like, I understand when you run more, you want to run even more, and you go, okay, I'm doing it. I'm back. I don't need to worry about that stuff. But
it's funny you say that, because it was the episode that you were on with us where I went through my training week, and I sort of said, I sort of felt my hip today, so I think I'm ready for a bit of an easier week, and it was already too late. Like that bit of hip pain I had on that episode ended up being the stress fracture. So I've realised now, how you feel in a given moment is often a reflection of your training from a few weeks earlier, particularly with your bones. So you might get away with it in the week and feel good, but then it catches up with you a couple of weeks down the track.
Yeah, so Jess, with your mileage now being like 160, like that's quite high. Because I remember when we spoke after you ran Perth, like your mileage, was probably like 100, and you're doing a lot of cross training. So when you're running 160K a week, like how many hours of cross training are you doing on top of that?
Yeah, so I'm not actually doing a lot of cross training unless, like, it's not programmed now. It's just when I feel like it. So I've built up my mileage really gradually. I can send the actual Strava graph that I can see, because obviously not everyone can see the accurate graph. But so at the beginning of April, I was at sort of 85 Ks, the beginning of May, 110 Ks. And it's just this sort of 3 weeks up, 1 week down, 3 weeks up, 1 week down. So as the sports doctor sort of said, that we've got to just get you doing, building that base again. And so that's what we really focused on. So the 160 Ks doesn't actually feel it doesn't feel like I'm on the edge at the moment. But what I do plan to do, and the races give me a good opportunity to do it, is sort of have a down week for the taper, and then you race, and then you recover, and then you go up again. So I certainly could be adding in a bit more cross-training, but we just sort of looked at it and thought, well, when you cross-train, you're doing these sessions, you're probably actually burning quite a lot of energy versus a really relaxed jog, if I do it in a relaxed manner, is perhaps less strenuous than an elliptical session.
Jess, the significance of taking the record, like, Launceston's known as the fastest 10K in Australia. All the best people I kind of assume have raced it over the years. I was trying to find like an official winners list. How does that kind of sink in? And then I was talking to David Tarbottom today, just seeing where it sits all time, and you're actually ranked third, you and Susie Power with 31.49, behind Krishna Stanton with 31.46 and Benita 31.17 for 10K road accredited courses time. So I'm not sure if you knew that, but
no, I didn't.
you jumped to equal third amongst those names.
Yeah, it's funny.
So two big kind of things there. You're not renowned for your 10K speed, but maybe you are now.
Yeah, and maybe I am a bit fresher because I haven't had those, weeks on weeks of high mileage. But I didn't know any of those numbers going into the race, and to be honest, I don't know if you realise had the same problem, Brady, but there weren't any clocks, so sort of crossed the line, and I think there was a digital timer in the distance, but the sun was shining on it in a way that I couldn't see the numbers, so I didn't know my time for a little while. So I was really excited when I found out that I'd gone under 32, but I hadn't known what the record was, so that was all a bonus.
Did Sinead say anything afterwards? Because it was her record, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She wasn't angry at all?
It was her record from 2018, I think I found out. Sinead's, she's good value. We had a good chat afterwards. Watching her run beforehand was inspirational. I mean, we looked out of our window at 8 a.m. and the pine trees were sideways. So there
you go, Brady. There you go. There's the evidence. Just trying to tell me how easy it was for the half.
Well, I reckon that 18K tailwind though, Jess. A few K into it, but most of it was with behind them.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to slow down them, many of them. They all ran pretty well. Jess, do you know much about Gold Coast Fields for the half? Like, you're in a situation now where you could potentially win that as well. I know Sinead told us at the pre-race dinner that she'll be off overseas and won't be there, but you could be winning this one too.
Well, Elsie will be in it, so it'll be a good hit out again against Elsie, and I haven't heard about the rest of the field. I'm assuming they'll come out soon though. We've got to find out. Yeah, Brad's field.
Pacing job, that's it. Any more questions for our boys before we let her go?
I believe we're getting some ASICS shoes. Jess, did you wear the Edge or the Sky?
Yeah, I've had a few people asking me that, so I wore the Sky. I actually said to Adam on the phone the day beforehand, I'm like, I might have done something bad here. I've brought over a brand new pair of shoes that I've never worn. And he's like, just don't stress, just put them on in your room and just walk around, spend the rest of your night walking around in your shoes, and even if you're lying on the bed, just have them on your feet. And so I did a few little jumps around the room, jogged around the room in them, and they felt really good. So I've worn the Edge in training a bit, but I wanted to save the Sky for race day. So yeah, the Sky Plus.
Cool.
They both feel good. You can feel a difference, but I don't know whether one's better than the other necessarily. One's meant to be for more of a cadence runner, and the other's more for a stride runner. But I think the Sky definitely feels like it has a bit more pop.
Very good. Any more questions, Moose?
any contact at all from AA to give you some direction around what you should be doing training-wise?
She's been hassled all weekend about that.
We've just been told to prepare for a mid-year Northern Hemisphere marathon, or like basically a championship marathon. But yeah, just no clues as to which one. But we've certainly, Adam and I have been training as if I'm preparing for the Commonwealth Games, which is 2 weeks later than World Champs and will probably be a cooler climate. So I'm hoping that's the one. It would be a bit of a shock to the system to find out that I've got to run a marathon 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time, Jess. I know you've been away all weekend from the family and stuff, so generous with your time to give up some time for us on a Monday night to talk about all things running.
No worries. Always good to chat.
See you on the Gold Coast.
Thanks, Jess. See you at the Gold Coast.
A message now from our podcast partner, Lululemon. We've been talking about and wearing Lululemon, and if you're after new running gear for your run season goals, you know where to go. Lululemon have designed this season's run gear with technical and functional details, from internal zip pockets for the small necessities, to variations in lengths for women's and men's running tights and shorts, to sweat-wicking fabrics and mesh paneling exactly where you need it. With superior fit and technical innovation, Lululemon designs gear to last and perform day in, day out, no matter the weather. Not convinced? Try it out for yourself with free shipping and free returns for all online orders. Go to www.lululemon.com.au.
All right, men's race moose, Jimmy Hansen. This was pretty impressive, 28:49. You would have liked watching this on the stream from the big fella.
Did it pretty easy by the looks of it. Just that kind of just slowly strung them out. He didn't seem to make a big surge, just strung him out, and then no one really wanted to go with him. And I thought there would be. I thought we'd get Sam McIntyre going with him, but didn't. I thought, well, no, he was the man I thought would go with him, really. I wasn't really sure of the fitness of the rest of the group, but yeah, it was quite astounding how easy he seemed to do it. And he's been fit lately. Like, he's run very fast.
He's got some good range. It looked easy, but the times indicate that he was flying and just making it look easy. Like 13:57 last 5K, 8:03 last 3K. But when you look at him on the stream, you're like, he didn't look like that. But then you look at the guy who's spitting out the back, and you can see why he was spitting them out the back. First Tasmanian winner of the Launceston 10, so I think that's pretty significant from a Launceston boy as well. Like, he lives there. I saw his little interview post-race, and he kind of said, this is the biggest 10K in Australia, so for a local guy to win it gives a lot of hope and inspiration for all the local kids growing up there, watching people go through their local town doing this race. So and he's got range, 149 guy over 8, 338 over 15. He was on the plane today to Europe. I think he's going over to chase some races over there. So amazing race from Jimmy Hansen there. Kieren Perkins was second in 29.05 and Riley Cox was third in 29.06. So a close finish there.
Brady did mention the bit, which is also pretty inspirational, that this time last year he had a blood clot on his brain. So for him to sort of come back from that is super impressive. And even just hearing his post-race interview with Welshie, he's a bit of a character. He's pretty good for a chat. Seems like a good guy.
He's so humble. He's one of our coaches that run the PB. He's just an absolute legend. And you go up and talk to him about his race afterwards, and all he wants to do is talk about your race. And you're like, Jimmy, you're the man here, not me. He's just an absolute legend of the sport. And he doesn't have the sponsors. I think he said he's self-funded. He's taken 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off work to go overseas and chase some times. And they're the kind of stories you want to get behind.
Okay.
That's a wrap on Launceston, though. All right, next bit of running news, boys. Rome Diamond League. Did you see it, Croaks? I haven't watched it, but I've heard good things about Jack's pacemaking job and Cat Bissett in the 800.
Yeah, so I taped it and watched it, I think it was Friday morning. So Cat Bissett was, competitive. She finished 7th in 159.7, but with, 200 to go, or even 150 to go, it's she was challenging for probably podium. But it's like in the 800, once you start to tie up, the places can change pretty quickly in that last sort of 60 metres. So she faded a little bit to finish 7th, but that's a season best for her. So anytime you're running under 2 minutes for 800, you're doing well. And then in the men's 5K, they had Paul Robinson, I think, pacing the first. I think he did close to 2K, and then Jack took them through to 3K. 7:42 basically through 3K, which is a PB for him. I'm not sure whether it actually will show up on his IAAF or World Athletics profile, but he looked very good. And it was Kajelcha actually was like pretty much chomping at the bit and pretty much went past him just as Jack was about to finish. So I heard somewhere that their second mile in that race was 4:02.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but Jack's obviously in fine form. If he's running 7:42 as a pace job for 3K.
What's he racing next? Does anyone know?
Not sure. I think he's in St. Moritz.
Actually, did someone? I think he's got a 5K Diamond League coming up. I think he
in Oslo.
Oslo. I think in the comments and his Strava.
That's this weekend. Yep.
Okay. Something to look out for there.
Yeah, and Ollie Hall's in the Dream Mile there against Jakob.
Cool, that's good. And then there was a few qualifiers overseas. Ed Trippis, the steeplechaser, he came 5th at the NCAA 3,000 metre steeplechase final. He ran 8:20.29. So he now owns the 2 fastest Australian times in the last decade with his 8:19.6 and his 8:20.2. Just misses his PB by less than a second. Remains number 3 all time, but qualifies now for the World Champs and the Commonwealth Games. So that was pretty good from him. And then Amy Cashin, talking steeple as well, she also hit the qualifying time. This was at the Portland Track Festival. She ran 9:27.9 to meet the standard for the World Championships. Also puts her in contention for the Com Games. So, good news for our steeplers. When the Com Games, well, that was the last weekend for the Com Games period, so they're snuck in just in time. And they'll just be waiting to get named now, I guess. Mm-hmm. Do you want to go on to the next bit of news, Croaks? Joey Deng and Pete Ball?
Yes, this is great news, not only for Australia, but Justin Rinaldi's squad. Joseph Deng, the former Australian record holder, he returned to, not career best form, but he ran his 4th fastest time ever of 1:44.69. So he's had a rough couple of years since he was flying. And so that qualifies him for the World Champs, and I'm guessing places him in contention for the Commonwealth Games as well. And his stablemate, Pete Ball, mainly known as an 800-metre runner, but ran a significant 1,500-metre PB. He ran 3:35.86, which, I think it was like a 5 or 6 second PB. 7 seconds. Yeah, there you go. Which, shows that his strength has come a long way. So that bodes well for his, upcoming 800s, I reckon.
Yeah, that was good to see. Especially Joey Deng. Like, you watched him in our domestic season, you're like, it just didn't look like the Joseph Deng of old. Yeah. But just shows how they can turn the page in 4 or 5 months when they get over there.
Well, what's that saying? Class is forever, form's temporary.
Yep. That's it. And then Moose, last bit of news from overseas. Pat Tiernan had a good one.
He won a race, the Portland Track Classic, I think it was. Something in Portland. He ran 13:19. It was only his 3rd race of the calendar year. So good sign there. Charlie Hunter, also in the training group, ran 1:45.58 to finish 4th place. Those boys are starting to gear up.
Not in the training group, is he? Isn't one of him, the other one's not?
Sorry, I'm wrong about that.
In the country.
Yeah, he's in the same group as Jess Hull. Yeah, Charlie Hunter is.
It was the same meet though, the Portland Track
my bad.
Festival. Yeah,
that's a mistake.
That's all right. Mistakes we make often on this show, Moose. That's all good. We'll move on to Training Talk. So this week's Training Talk segment is proudly brought to you by Lululemon. Lululemon have designed technical gear with the runner in mind to last more than a season. Head to lululemon.com.au to find out more. And Bradley, like last week, this Training Talk is based around a listener question.
And the listener question comes in from Michael. I'm keen to know about your thoughts on running surfaces. I'm about to progress to a marathon-specific training program and keen to get your ideas on what and when to run on. Do you specifically look at different surfaces for different runs? So workouts, long runs, tempo, recovery. For instance, road, footpath, trail, track, grass, sand, or treadmill. Do you have a quota each week on where to run? How should I plan the timing and tempo? Any advice on what to avoid or footwear?
There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, just looking through the question, I think I can see 6 question marks.
Yeah.
No, maybe 4. Which one do you want to do first?
Maybe
Do you go with the quota? Do you guys have a quota? Do you look at this?
No.
No
Quota.
But is that because you've got something already ingrained in you after years and years of running, though?
No, I think it's more to do with the purpose of each run and applying, like finding the surface to match the purpose of the run. So, like down here, you have to go out of your way to run on an asphalt road, and so I would encourage everybody to run on dirt for the majority of their running. Like at least 80% of the week. If dirt's accessible, run it on dirt. It's just going to be, I know they've had some random study that came out once that said the impact was the same or whatever, but runners know intuitively that running on dirt, they get less sore than when they run on concrete. You don't need research to tell you that. It just feels better. It's a nicer experience. The crunch under the foot of your shoe crunching gravel is so meditative. It's a beautiful feeling to run along on a dirt road and just hear that crunch, crunch, crunch.
Plus the trees and just the scenery that you have in the bush compared to, running through suburbia. Definitely.
So I'm going to say run on dirt. The general rule is if there's dirt there, run on it. But then if you've got a workout, he's entering a marathon-specific build, most likely these marathons on the road. We actually do specifically head to asphalt to run our marathon workouts because there's a degree of conditioning that running on asphalt or concrete brings your legs, and you can become a little bit almost calloused to the road if you start to do some longer workouts on hard surfaces. If you head to the marathon having not run a single run on concrete, chances are by the time you get to the end of the race, you're going to feel pretty banged up. That's just the experience I've had in the past. And so a funny story, there was a guy actually he was from New Zealand. He lived in Melbourne. He went and did the New Zealand Marathon. Very good runner. Got sore quads towards the end of the race. Had a terrible finish. Came back to Melbourne. Like 1 week later, decided that it was because he didn't run enough on the road that's what caused his problem. So he went out and ran like every single run on the concrete the next 2 weeks. And I don't think he ever recovered from that. And he got like full long-term injuries, never really ran again. But yeah, so I had a long run on the asphalt. Normally do it with pace involved as well. So you just time it like that.
Footwear? You're the footwear man?
I would go more cushion for the road. So it's a harsher surface underfoot. I tend to like to wear more cushioning when I'm running on the road, protect it a little bit more, sort of dull the impact. Whereas on the dirt, too much cushioning can be unstable, and it's not as required, I don't think. So slightly firmer shoes for the dirt, softer shoes for the road.
I like all that. Anything to add there, Bradley?
The only thing is just about probably a bit of specificity. So for me, like we said, like anything that's an easy run, I will generally run on dirt. The only time I don't run on dirt for a recovery run is if we've had like a shitload of rain and I know that the trails are going to be like I'm going to be running through puddles. Then I might do my recovery runs on the concrete, but that's obviously just for a short period of time. But outside of rain, I'm on the trails for all of my easy runs. But then it depends what event you're training for. Obviously, if you're training for a marathon, you want to be doing some of your marathon reps on the road, and you probably also want to be doing them over a similar terrain to the course. So if you're doing a Gold Coast marathon, then you're going to be doing your reps on a flat surface. If you're doing Gradation Road, you're going to be wanting to try and incorporate some hills on those faster reps. I'm a big fan of trying to do some hills in the first half of a long run before then doing my tempo on the flat for like if I'm doing a marathon prep. But, if you're a track runner, then, go and do a track session once a week or every second week because that's specific to the event that you're training for. So, but recovery runs on the dirt and then as much specificity as you can for sessions, I suppose.
Yeah, well done, fellas. Answered that well. Thanks again to this week's Train Talk partner, Lululemon. Their new run range is designed with lightweight fabrics, thoughtful features like key-size zipper pockets, and mesh paneling to keep you running whatever the weather. Visit lululemon.com.au, and I might just add there because I got a few messages about what were the half tights we were talking about last week, because I don't think we actually said what they were. They were the Surge Tight 10-inch. Do you guys get any of those questions?
I got a question about which you would wear for what would be your half-tight choice for the marathon, between that and another brand of tight.
That would be it for me, I think, if I was doing a marathon shortly. Only because I think the fit's the best.
Easier access for girls, I reckon, too.
Moose on the Loose, purchase of the week, Julian?
Moose on the Loose, look, it's that time before a marathon when the Strava love comes out, isn't it? The session love, where we get real tempted to push some big long runs because we know what's waiting at the end. Kudos, comment, kudos, comment. It's just a lot of feel-good stuff going on Strava right now, and it's a real temptation to punch home some long runs, to ignore the prescribed paces we've been given, to go that little bit longer than we were supposed to, all for the love of the Strava, that orange app, that wonderful orange app that makes us feel good, so good about ourselves. Actually, speaking of that, Brady, did you get a kudos today from a lady called Laura Lincoln? You still got emails for all your kudos?
I have those turned off, Julian. I remember I caught up with you once and your phone was lighting up every time you got a kudos.
No,
surely
that sounds like Moose.
Oh,
and he said, no, it's just for comments. I just like the comments coming through to my phone.
So what happened was Laura...
On my run yesterday?
No, well, yeah, so she was in the store and got her phone out and she's like, check out Brady's run from yesterday, and she kudosed it, and I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. He's going to know about that immediately. No,
I don't have any notifications turned on my phone.
Oh, that's
because I'm actually reading a really good book about it at the moment. Johan Hari, you know, the guy that wrote. I should get this right. I want to get this right.
So what are you on this week? What's your thing for this week?
Lost Connections. He wrote. No, I've always Stolen Focus is the one I'm reading at the moment. It's his new book. I've had my notifications turned off for years. I have Messenger. I have that on.
Oh, that's a notification.
Yeah, but that's the only one. I don't have Strava, don't have Facebook, don't have Instagram, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I have Do Not Disturb on regularly, and Carly's the only person that's like unblocked from Do Not Disturb. Because it's amazing how much it just I get distracted so easy. Like sometimes I just walk through the house to go like put some clothes away, and I just find myself in a completely different room doing something completely different. I'm not good with having attention stuff coming at me.
I don't get notifications from anything. Like I'm not
turned off as well.
Well, what do you get What do people get notified from?
Look, so if you get a DM on Instagram, does it come up on your screen?
I don't get them.
Don't you?
It's not a thing. It's not like maybe like one a week.
Really? I thought people would be flooding your DMs.
Nah, not at all.
Yeah, okay.
Nah, I'm not popular.
Yeah, because you just never write back to people.
Not like you. You must get a lot to have to turn them off.
No, I don't get that many. I just don't like. So then I've got to go into. So I'll program a time to go into the app to check if I've got anything instead of when I get a notification stopping what I'm actually doing to respond.
Yeah.
Strava crashed after his run yesterday.
Oh,
I got 1,000 croaks. Did you see that?
Yeah, Laura Lincoln, number 1,000.
Was she? She got me over into the 4 digits. I reckon that's the first time I got 1,000 4 figures. Thanks to all those people.
Got a lot of questions actually. People in the store going, "What the fuck's Croker on about with this half marathon?" Like,
well, if they listen now, hopefully they'll understand.
So with that, I had to ask you guys earlier on. So in the predictions, there was Tully Rose. She guessed 1 second over what I ran, and Jackson Rendell guessed 1 second under what I ran. No one got it exactly. So they were the two closest to my time to get the merch pack. But there were some people that guessed Croaks DNS, but then were a bit off further away from my predicted time?
No, not the DNS, because there's one guy on there that I know that I told that I wasn't running it. So I reckon we just go.
Knowledge.
Yep. So I reckon we just go whoever was closest to you, and they're obviously 1 second either side. But I know Tully Rowe entered before Jackson Rendell. So
okay, so it's going to Tully, you reckon?
I guess so.
Then you go back.
Unless they both get something.
We'll find something for them. See what happens.
Who sponsored that?
That was
running company Geelong.
$200 voucher. That's why we've got so many entries.
Yeah, I'll invoice you later. I'm all right with that.
Thanks for that.
Tully loves that store too. She'll appreciate that. Thanks, boys.
She'll be able to spend it. Yeah, is that you Moose on the loose? I think it's more of a like, hey, pump the brakes now if you're somebody doing this. A lot of people could potentially run their marathon this weekend.
Just be aware of what's going on here. Just ask yourself, why do I want this to be so fast? And chances are it's because I'm going to get some real gratification post-run. That's probably the answer, really.
I reckon the few people pulled their heads in about their where they're doing their marathon workouts as well. Seeing a few more straight lines on my Strava.
Gee, not our group. We got Big Jimmy
really?
Friend just keeps going back to this flat ass loop. I'm like, Jimmy, we need some sort of adversity in your runs.
Jimmy strikes me as a smart guy too, high intelligence.
Yeah, Jimmy's pretty smart, but also a bit soft. Loves the flat, boring loops. Like, doesn't like to think about it. Doesn't want a hill in his loop. Doesn't want any type of wind in his loop. So I'm there, like I'm that voice in their head going, God, guys, let's go over the hilly loop today. And they're all like, nah, flat today. Let's make our paces look better.
Yeah. Don't know if it's taking advice from the guy who's got no cartilage in his knee anymore, you reckon? It pulled back.
Do I have to remind you about my time again?
That was actually, Brady's just stolen that straight from Nick Earl. That's what Nick Earl said yesterday.
Nick Earl was good on the beers yesterday, actually.
Oh, how'd he go?
He wants a spot at the live show at Gold Coast.
How'd he go in his race?
I told him if he wins Gold Coast Marathon, he can talk at our live show.
Gee, he was good at Gratian Road Marathon. Real strong. I think he ran 2:30.
Yeah, but he would just keep bringing, like what you do, Moose. Yeah, what's your marathon PB, Moose? That's what he'd be saying.
Too. Well played by him. Because you know what? We've got that forever, me and Nick.
Yeah, that bonding.
There's only so many 2:14 men in Australia.
To his credit, I still cannot believe that he actually held it together after how fast he ran his first 5K.
Oh, mate.
Not, like 9 out of 10.
Yeah. He was right. I reckon he went from running a 3:40K before I went past him. I looked at him and I'm like, you're so fucked, I'm going to tell you to jump on my back anyway. And then all of a sudden he's there. He's cranked it down like 25 seconds a K, and I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 people I know that have banked that much time in the first 5K aren't finishing the way that he did.
I was astounded that he finished. Yeah. Geez, he carried on a bit during that last 10K though.
We're still carrying on about it now though. Still bringing it up.
Like it was like a wounded moose in the wild. Like someone shot him and he was just right on my shoulder the whole time, dying.
Love it. It was a good moose on the loose. I enjoyed that. What's coming up? We're getting close to capacity at the Gold Coast live show. So if you think you're one of those people who's just going to not get a ticket till the weekend, I'd suggest get organised now. We've got 3 weeks, probably at 80% sold. And they'll go quick the sooner we go to the race, I think, when people start getting their plans, their ducks in a row for what they're actually doing that weekend. Good opportunity to hear a live episode, hear from some special guests, starting to organise, tap some people on the shoulder to tee up some talking there, not Nick Earl. So massive thanks to Pillar Performance for supporting us on that one. I'm expecting, boys, in what's coming up, that the Commonwealth Games team and World Champs team is going to be announced potentially by the time this show goes out to the public on a Wednesday. So we'll see what the next couple of days hold. Cruden Farm Cross Country's coming up as well, and then Oslo Diamond League Croaks. Anything else that I've missed?
No, I think that's pretty much it for this coming week.
So what's happening? What are you doing in your life, Julian?
This week, wow, Cruden Farm's on, so I'm heading down to Cruden Farm this week, getting on the bus. Should be really fun.
Yep, it will be. Bradley, what are you doing?
Trying to get maybe one more decent week of mileage in before a 2-week taper. So maybe smash out a really hard long run on Sunday for a bit of kudos.
Oh, here we go.
There we are. Yeah, I can see this happening.
No, I'll be sensible. But I figured my last 2 weeks have been pretty light mileage-wise. So I'll try and just hit sort of 150, 160 and then shut it down for 2 weeks.
Hey, when do you get the contract?
I don't know. I haven't heard.
The names and splits and the money you're getting paid and all that kind of stuff.
Not
Might change. That could change your plans on race day, I reckon.
Maybe race week? I don't know. I'm trying to remember when did we find out in 2017? Do you remember?
How much we're getting paid?
Or no, like basically who was the elite field and...
the only thing you care about is how much you're getting paid
field.
at certain checkpoints, I think.
No.
Elite field will get announced any day now, I'd say.
No,
I don't think paces get in the same realm as elite field, Brad.
No, but they normally send out an email saying, you need to come to this meeting on Saturday afternoon, like that technical meeting.
Oh yeah, boy, take your autograph pad. Take the autograph book.
I've got a photo of Des Linden with Des Linden.
That's right. Maybe then they put that lunch on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah Hall was there. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. All right, we're done, boys. See you again next week.
Good luck on the weekend, Brady.
We'll do it all again. Yeah, another race, another weekend. We'll see what happens.
Don't get injured during this period of racing.
No, that's at the very top of my mind, Bradley. I'm pretty conservative, though. You know that. Just got to listen to the body. But I think I'll smack along on tomorrow morning, maybe.
Oh, Brady, I saw today there's a treadmill for sale in Echuca Moama. I reckon you should get onto that.
Yeah, Archie's one.
Jeez, what's
it's like
happened?
two and a half grand or something, isn't it?
Yeah, he's do it.
I thought treadmill's like $200. Why is he selling it for so much? Must be a good one.
Is he quit running? Have you cooked him that much?
He's sitting at his parents' place. That treadmill. He hasn't even shipped it into his house that he moved into about 2 years ago, I don't think.
Game changer for you, Brady.
Treadmills,
you better run at home.
Nah, I would hate running at home. I don't know how you boys do it.
Love it.
Nah, getting out in the fresh air amongst the trees, hearing that crunch of the dirt under your foot, all that stuff you were just talking about. I don't think I'd touch a treadmill sitting in my shed.
Once or twice a week, I don't mind getting on there. Actually, I'm going to do a few over the next couple of weeks, run on the treadmill for my doubles in a bit of extra clothing.
Hey, Brad, I actually think that the calf load is higher on a treadmill than outdoors. Potentially.
Like, I know that sometimes I focus a bit more on form when I'm on the treadmill, and I do sort of get a little bit toey. Like, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got mirrors set up in your shed as well, so you can see your technique?
No. Occasionally,
he just watches videos of his old races.
Occasionally, the car is parked, and so I can see a reflection in the mirror. See if check the elbows.
Oh yeah.
Check the upper body,
nice.
the upper body carriage.
Yeah. All right, I'm ending this show because this is going off track here.
Have we not finished?
See you guys.
See you, boys. Lululemon believe that running is discovery. It's about the feeling you find along the run route. Freedom, peace, euphoria. Discover their technical run collection at lululemon.com.au.